Hey everyone, Tara here from Archie English, and today I want to talk about how an English teacher can use the 5 whys method to help you start finding more effective solutions to your problems. Now, the 5 whys method was developed by Sakichi Toyoda, the founder of Toyota, and it's used by many organizations and people all over the world, including Toyota, to identify the root causes of problems so that they can find effective solutions to problems and frustrations, so that they can find effective countermeasures to frustrations. Now, the way it works is you ask the question, why, 5 times to think more deeply about a problem that you might have or a frustration. I just listened to Christina Canters discuss this very method on her latest podcast, Stand Out and Get Noticed. I'll put the link in this video. And it really resonated with me because this is the method that I use when I first talk to students to determine what their main frustrations are and how we can come up with solutions. And I believe that this method is not used enough when it comes to trying to identify problems and solutions for learners of languages. Very often learners are taught general English, but what about when you have more specific problems, when you're a much more advanced learner? And this is where the 5 whys method works perfectly well, because we can start to go much deeper than the initial problem. So in order to know a little bit more about how the 5 whys method works, let's use a case study to see how I would adopt the 5 whys method to design a really highly effective and very specific program for a student who has very specific problems. For example, one really common frustration that I hear over and over again is that professionals who are using English in an office setting are shy and embarrassed to speak up in project meetings with colleagues and other professions. And after the meeting, they feel frustrated that they missed the opportunity to speak, even though they knew that they should have, or even though they knew they had the information, but they just couldn't say anything. Now, I could respond to this by saying, don't be afraid to speak up, because people won't mind if you make mistakes. They know that English is your second language, so they'll be kind. However, I wouldn't be doing my job properly if I just said that to you, because that solution would just be a band-aid solution. It doesn't solve the problem in the long term. You and I both know that there's a much deeper root to this problem. You being embarrassed and shy isn't because you don't have the capability or you're not good at your job. There is something really inside that's stopping you and holding you back from being able to speak up in these meetings. So this is where I would then adopt the 5 why method to identify the problems and find countermeasures. So countermeasures are more effective than solutions because they seek to ensure that your problem stops happening over and over again. And we can find a countermeasure at each level of the 5 why process. So in answer to your frustration, I would start this process by saying, why do you feel embarrassed and shy and frustrated during these project meetings? Now, everyone would respond differently, obviously, but one possible response could be, I'm afraid I'll say the wrong thing, or I'm afraid I won't know what or how to say it. And this is a very, very common response. Now, the countermeasure at this point could be, let's discuss the types of scenarios where you feel uncomfortable, and let's identify them and talk about them more, and let's put them aside to think about them for later. Now I'm going to ask my second why. Why does saying the wrong thing make you feel afraid? And your possible response, and very often it is this, is I'm afraid my colleagues won't respect me. I'm afraid that they will think I don't know how to do my job properly. They will think I don't know what I'm doing. So at this point, we can design a countermeasure and write down some examples of where this has already happened to you and what are some of the things that we could do to counteract this. Then I would ask my third why. Why is this important to you? Why is it important that your colleagues think that you know what you're doing in your job? And your possible response could be, I do have the skills and expertise. I can say it in my native language, but I just don't know how to do it in English. I haven't had any opportunities, and I don't have the technical or the business vocabulary that I need to be able to do it. Now, the countermeasure at this point could be that I design situations where you can practice these things, this vocabulary in these scenarios, and give you relevant reading and listening material to help build your technical and business vocabulary around this. Now, I could stop here and say, well, I have enough information, and I think we have enough countermeasures to design something specific and effective. However, there's still 2 whys left, and I want to go much deeper into the problem. So this is where I would say to you, why is it important that you have these opportunities and that you speak up in meetings like this? And your possible answer might be, I want people to see me as an expert, and I want people to give me the responsibilities that I know that I deserve. So the countermeasure at this point could be, we identify the types of projects you want to be responsible for. And I could make sure that your learning is centered around this. However, I also think it's really important at this point to talk about how your long-term goals can be achieved and to change your mindset to show you that you are capable of reaching these goals. And then the very last why that I would ask is, why is more responsibility more important to you? And your possible response might be, I want to be able to progress in my career. And that is a very common possible response to that question. And at this point, the countermeasure is that we design a program together that allows you to take the steps to reach this goal. We use all the countermeasures that we've come up with to design something that will be targeted and specific. Now, the reason this process is so important for me as a teacher is my job is to find the root of your problems so that I can design effective countermeasures. And you can start implementing these solutions, these countermeasures straight away. Because to me, this sounds better than just learning English without any clear focus or direction in the hope that you will just make progress in time by watching things on Netflix or films or reading from time to time. In my opinion, when the countermeasures are specific and targeted, this is when you make progress faster. And this is how your confidence grows and continues to grow from this point. So for me, I can see that the overall solution, the best program for you, is designing a highly effective strategy to enable you to practice and learn examples of vocabulary that you need in these specific situations. And I also think it would be beneficial, for example, to give you practice asking quick fire questions, because I can see that you need to practice thinking on your feet. And maybe we practice answering questions off the top of your head as well, without having anything prepared. And you also need the time and the space to practice this in a role play. And you need somebody to give you some structured feedback in order to build your confidence to use it in these situations. Remember, if you're embarrassed or shy in a meeting, it's not because you are bad at your job. You just miss the vocabulary and the practice. If you have these opportunities to practice when the time comes, to do it again and again in real life, you can start to draw upon the vocabulary and the way that we use the language while you're learning. So imagine how much your confidence will grow each time you do it more and more in real situations. People will start to give you more responsibility in projects. People will see that you can do your job properly because you're not just sitting in a meeting saying nothing, you're saying things. And then you can start to see how all the things you want will start to fall in place. I hope you can see from today's video why and how working one-on-one with someone is a really effective way for you to reach your goals faster because your specific needs are met. Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. I'll see you next time. See ya.